Hi friends, and welcome to a Homemaker's Bookshelf, the cozy corner of the internet where we talk about books we're staying up way too late to finish. I'm Christian, and around here we share honest book thoughts, cozy reading moments, and the stories that make us laugh, gasp, or immediately text a friend and say, "Have you read this?" Whether you're listening while folding laundry, baking something in the kitchen, rocking a baby, or curled up with a cup of coffee and a good book, I am so glad that you're here. So grab your favorite drink, get comfortable, and let's talk about today's book. Today we are going to be talking about The Housemaid by Freida McFadden. And guys, let me tell you, this book had me hooked from the very first chapter. This episode is completely spoiler free. If this book is on your reading list, you can still listen to this safely. So let's start with my first impressions. The book absolutely wastes no time in pulling you in whatsoever. From the very beginning, you're introduced to Millie, who takes a job working as a housemaid for a very wealthy family. It sounds simple enough, cleaning, cooking, helping around the house, but almost immediately realizing that something feels off. Not in like a horror movie kind of way, but there's like subtle hints here and there that something in the house just isn't quite right. The author does a really good job of making you feel that tension throughout the book without fully explaining it. It keeps you thinking, okay, what exactly is going on here? One thing that I really liked about this book is how easy it was to read. The chapters are very short, the pacing is quick, and the story keeps moving in a way that makes you feel like you can hardly ever put it down. I finished this book in less than 3 days, and that was with me at the time having a 4-month-old. If I can read it that fast, I'm sure you could probably read it faster. This is also one of those books where you sit down thinking that you'll only read a chapter or two, and then suddenly you're accidentally halfway through the book. It's very much a psychological thriller, but it's not overly complicated. The writing is straightforward, and that is what actually makes the suspense stronger because you're constantly trying to piece things together. The characters in the story also are really interesting because you're never quite sure who to trust. At first, everything seems normal on the surface. A wealthy couple, beautiful home, hiring a housemaid, trying to rebuild her life. But the more time that you spend in the house with them, the more layers start to reveal themselves. And I think that that's one of the things that makes this book so addictive. You're constantly questioning people's motives. You start noticing little tiny details. And every time you think you understand someone, I promise, something changes. Another thing that I loved about the book was the atmosphere of the house itself. It almost feels like the house becomes its own character in the story. There are rules, there are boundaries, certain rooms, certain expectations, and the longer Millie stays there, the more uncomfortable those rules really start to feel. It creates this slow building tension that just keeps growing and growing as the story moves forward. I can definitely see why The Housemaid became such a popular book online, with Book Talk especially. It is one of those stories that's incredibly bingeable, and I have not seen the movie yet, so I'm excited to see the differences between the book and the movie. But we already all know that the books are always better. If you like the books that make you keep guessing, books that pull you deeper and deeper into the story, books that make you say, wait, what? At the end of every chapter, this one definitely does that. It's the kind of thriller that works really well even if you don't normally read a lot of thrillers. For me personally, this one was a solid 4.5 out of 5 stars. It was fast-paced, suspenseful, and honestly just a really fun read. I love books that make me feel like I'm trying to solve a puzzle the entire time, and this one definitely had that feeling. If you've already read The Housemaid, I would love to hear your thoughts about it. Did it keep you guessing? Did you figure anything out early? Or were you just as surprised as I was while reading the book? And if you haven't read it yet, add it to your list if you enjoy psychological thrillers that are fast, suspenseful, and really hard to put down. Thank you so much for spending a little time with me today on a Homemaker's Bookshelf. If you enjoyed this episode, I'd love it if you would follow the podcast so you never miss a new book discussion. If you want to keep chatting about books, you can find me over on Instagram at A Homemaker's Heart, where I share what I'm currently reading and my latest book thoughts. And before you go, I'd love to know, what are you reading right now? Until next time, happy reading, and I hope your next book keeps you up way too late.